Have you ever had a moment that changes everything you thought you knew about yourself? For me, it started with a laugh, haze, to be exact. I still remember that day like it happened 5 minutes ago. The smell of oil, the sound of wrenches clinking, the garage radio buzzing in the background. I was on my knees under a broken BMW, grease all over my hands, when she walked in, heels clicking on concrete like she owned the world. And maybe she did, at least in that moment. Her name was Olivia Hart, regional manager of Hart Motors, the biggest dealership in the county. And me, I was just the mechanic they called when things got messy. She stood there with that smack, holding a clipboard like it was a weapon. "So, you're the genius everyone keeps talking about," she said. I wiped my hands on a rag, trying not to stare too much. "Guess that depends on who you ask." She tilted her head, studying me like she was inspecting a dent. "They say you can fix any engine." "I'll try my best," I said. She smiled. "Fix this one then. And if you do, maybe I'll marry you." Everyone in the shop laughed. My buddy Tony nearly dropped his wrench. But not me. I just looked at her, calm, steady. "Deal," I said. She blinked, surprised. Maybe she thought I'd blush or stutter. But I didn't. I just turned back to the car. It was one of those high-end luxury models, the kind that looked perfect but was a nightmare under the hood. 3 other techs had tried fixing it. None succeeded. I spent the next 4 hours working in silence, her heels tapping the floor as she scrolled through her phone, barely noticing me. But when that engine finally roared back to life, smooth, powerful, perfect, she looked up, startled. I stood, wiped my hands, and said, "Guess we're engaged now." The guys roared with laughter again. She smiled, but there was something tight about it. "Not bad," she said, "for a guy who works with his hands." I just smiled. You'd be surprised what these hands can build. Later that night, Tony slapped my shoulder. "Bro, she's way out of your league." I shrugged. "Maybe. But sometimes the league doesn't matter, the game does." He laughed. But I wasn't joking. There was something about Olivia, sharp, confident, untouchable. And for some reason, that made me want to understand her more. The next few weeks, she kept dropping by the garage. Sometimes with real work, sometimes with excuses. "Thought I'd see if you broke anything else," she'd tease. I'd smirk. "You wishing I did so you can see me fix it again?" That usually got her quiet for a second. Then she'd laugh, that same high-class, effortless laugh that made the guys in the shop stare. But what they didn't see was how, sometimes, when she thought no one was looking, her smile faded. I started to notice little things, the stress in her voice when she answered calls from her boss, the way she looked at invoices like they were time bombs. One day, I found her sitting alone in her car after everyone had left. I tapped on the window. "You okay?" She sighed, looking tired for once. "Just corporate stuff. You wouldn't understand." I leaned against the door. "Try me." She gave me a faint smile. "Jake, you fix engines. I fix people's messes. Trust me, it's not the same thing." I shrugged. "Maybe not. But both need patience, the right tools, and a little heart." She stared at me for a long second, then said quietly, "You really believe that, don't you?" "Yeah," I said. "Everything worth fixing takes heart." She smiled again, not her usual boss smile, but a real one this time. That's when I realized there was more to her than fancy shoes and sarcasm. We started talking more. Coffee runs turned into lunch breaks. Lunch breaks turned into late-night texts. She told me about her dream, opening her own luxury auto brand one day. I told her about mine, building engines that could compete with the best. She laughed and said, "Maybe someday we'll work together." And I remember thinking, someday, maybe we will. But dreams have a funny way of testing how much you mean them. And soon enough, that test came, in the form of a promotion she wanted so badly she could taste it. A few days later, the garage got a big job, restoring an old classic car for a private client. Rumor had it, the client was some mystery investor looking to buy into Hart Motors. Olivia was personally handling it. She came into the shop, clipboard in hand, but this time, her tone was different, colder, sharper. "Jake, I want this car spotless," she said. "It's for someone important." I nodded. "Who's that?" She hesitated. "Just someone you don't need to know." Then she walked off, phone already pressed to her ear. I spent 2 weeks on that car. Every part, every detail, I rebuilt with care. The day it was ready, I saw her standing outside, dressed sharper than ever, waiting with a man I didn't recognize. He was a tall, expensive suit, the kind of guy who never had to look at a price tag. I wiped my hands and walked over. "The car's ready." Olivia smiled, that same smile, but this time it didn't reach her eyes. "Jake, this is Mr. Collins," she said. "Our potential partner." I shook his hand, but he barely looked at me. Then he looked at her and said, "You weren't kidding. He really is just a mechanic." They both laughed. It was soft, but I heard it. That moment, something in me went still. I just smiled and said, "Well, the car's yours. It runs better than you." She said, "Good job, Jake. Keep it up. Who knows, maybe one day you'll get to sit in the front seat instead of under the hood." Everyone laughed again. Everyone except me. I just said, "Maybe one day, Olivia. Maybe one day." That night, I couldn't sleep. Her words kept replaying in my head. Just a mechanic. Like I was less, like all I'd ever be was a pair of dirty hands fixing other people's dreams. I tried to brush it off, but something changed inside me that night. The respect, the warmth, gone. Replaced by this quiet fire. A week later, she stopped replying to my texts. Calls went unanswered. Then I heard from Tony. She'd gone to the city for a corporate event with Mr. Collins. Photos showed up on social media, her in a glittering dress, standing beside him, smiling like she'd found her new world. The caption read, "Power couple goals." That one stung. For days I stayed quiet. Didn't tell anyone how it felt to be tossed aside like a broken pot. But in that silence, I made a promise, not out of hate, not even revenge. Just a promise that one day, she'd see what she threw away. So, I quit. I walked out of the garage and never looked back. Everyone thought I was crazy. Tony said, "You can't just leave, man. What'll you do?" I said, "Build." He laughed. "Build what?" I looked him dead in the eye and said, "My own name." The next 2 years were the hardest of my life. I worked nights, slept in my workshop, learned everything about custom engine design. There were days I ate instant noodles for dinner and nights I almost gave up. But every time I did, I remembered her words, "Just a mechanic." That sentence became my fuel. Then one night, while tuning a prototype engine, I had a breakthrough. A new design that boosted performance and fuel efficiency like nothing on the market. I filed for a patent, pitched the idea to investors. Most said no, until one said yes. That one deal changed everything. Fast forward a year, and I was no longer Jake the mechanic. I was Jake Mason, founder of Mason Dynamics, a rising star in automotive innovation. Our custom engines were now being used by luxury brands across the country. My name was in magazines. My face on tech covers. But the best part, Hart Motors, the company Olivia worked for, became one of our clients. The irony was poetic. They didn't know yet that the man behind Mason Dynamics was the same grease-covered mechanic they'd once mocked. And I wasn't about to tell them, not yet. I wanted the truth to reveal itself, naturally. And then one morning, it did. It happened on a Friday morning. I got an email from the marketing department of Hart Motors. They were hosting an exclusive event, Partnership Appreciation Night, to celebrate their new engine supplier, Mason Dynamics. The invitation was formal. My name is printed in gold. Mr. Jake Mason, CEO. I smiled when I saw it. 2 years ago, I was under their cars. Now they were rolling out red carpets for me. The event was held at the same showroom where I once worked as a mechanic. I walked in wearing a tailored black suit, the kind that fit perfectly, not just on the body, but on the man I had become. Cameras flashed, music played softly. Executives shook my hand, calling me sir. It felt surreal. Then I saw her, Olivia, standing by the champagne table, in a silver dress, laughing with the same man, Mr. Collins. Except this time, there was something off. His smile was forced. Her eyes, a little distant. When she turned and saw me, the glass almost slipped from her hand. "Jake," she whispered. Her voice cracked slightly. "Hey, Olivia," I said, keeping it casual. "It's been a while." She blinked, confused. You on the guest list?" "Actually," I smiled, "I'm the reason for the event." Her smile froze. "What do you mean?" she asked. Before I could answer, the host took the mic. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, "please welcome our new partner, the brilliant engineer and CEO behind Mason Dynamics, Mr. Jake Mason." The crowd turned and clapped. Cameras pointed my way. I nodded, thanked them, and walked to the stage. Olivia just stood there, pale as marble. I gave my short speech. Nothing dramatic, just gratitude. But when I said, I started out in a small garage, right here, actually, I saw her take a step back. I continued, people used to tell me I wasn't good enough, that I should know my place. But life has a funny way of flipping the script. The audience clapped again, not knowing the private storm behind my words. But she knew. After the event, she found me outside near the parking lot, the same spot where we used to talk back when she was my manager. Jake. I mean, Mr. Mason, she said softly. Jake's fine, I said. She hesitated. You really built all this? Yeah, I said, smiling. From the ground up. I fix more than just engines. Her voice trembled. Why didn't you tell me? I looked at her, calm. Would it have mattered? Back then, you didn't see me for who I was, only what I had. She swallowed hard. I was young. I made mistakes. I shrugged. We all do. She stepped closer. I never stopped thinking about you. Sure you did, I said gently. Until tonight. She went quiet. Then she said, Jake, if I could go back, I interrupted softly. You can't. And that's okay. Because honestly, I don't hate you. You just taught me something I couldn't learn any other way. She looked down, tears building in her eyes. And what's that? That sometimes losing someone who never saw your worth is the best thing that can happen to you. There was silence between us. You could hear the faint hum of cars passing in the distance. Then she said, Are you happy now? I smiled, not prideful, just at peace. More than I've ever been. I turned to leave. She reached out, but didn't say a word. Just stood there, watching as I walked away. The same guy she once mocked, now the man she couldn't stop staring at. As I drove home that night, city lights flashing past the windshield, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not pride. Not ego. Just peace. You know, when I started this journey, I wanted to prove her wrong. I wanted her to see what she lost. But somewhere along the way, the goal changed. I wasn't chasing revenge anymore. I was chasing a purpose. And maybe that's why it worked. There's a strange beauty in being underestimated. When people doubt you, mock you, walk away, they give you silence. And in that silence, if you're brave enough, you can build an empire. I thought about Olivia that night. The girl who once joked, fix the engine and I'll marry you. Back then, I didn't realize she wasn't testing my skill. She was testing my worth. And the truth is, I didn't need to fix her engine. I needed to fix my own life. The funny thing is, life has a way of repairing what we thought was broken, just not how we expect. I didn't win her back. I didn't need to. I found something far more valuable, self-respect. A few weeks later, I got an anonymous message on social media. It was from her. She wrote, You were always meant for more. I just didn't see it then. I'm proud of you. I didn't reply, not because I was angry, but because sometimes silence says everything. I closed my phone, stepped out into the night air, and looked up at the stars, the same stars I used to stare at back when I was just a broken mechanic with grease on my hands and hope in my chest. And I realized the sky hadn't changed. Only I had. You don't need revenge to win. You just need to rise. Quietly, consistently, until your success speaks so loudly, the people who once doubted you can't even find the words to respond. If you're listening to this and someone has ever made you feel less than, remember, gold doesn't argue with those who call it dirt. It just shines. This is Jake Mason, and that was my story. Subscribe for more stories like this, because sometimes the best payback is simply becoming everything they said you couldn't be.